On the first tee, from Winnetka, Illinois, the 1996 winner of the U.S. Senior Open, Travis McKinley. I've never set foot on Augusta National before, let alone teed it up. So for 30 seconds, I just stand there shivering and let the polite applause of the patrons wash over me. Okay, wash over me is a bit of a stretch. How about trickle over me? Could you live with that? While the clapping subsides, I close my eyes and picture the shot I need to hit. Because my grandfather gave me a book on the Masters one Christmas, I happen to know that Augusta was originally a nursery owned by a Belgian horticulturist named Prosper Berkmans. That's why all the holes are named after trees. The first, Tee Olive, is a 445-yard par 4, which doglegs left and calls for a high fade to the right side of the fairway, some 290 yards away. When the image of the shot is locked in my mind, I step up and launch my drive into the December gloom, aiming 20 feet right of the big wire net that keeps balls from flying into the parking lot of the CVS next door. I'm happy to report that my tee shot comes off pretty much as planned, leaving me 165 yards to an uphill green. So I swap the driver for my 7-iron and aim for the right rear corner of it. When the ball lands softly and trickles, like that applause, toward the pin, tucked up front just beyond the trap, I give myself the 8-footer for birdie and move on to the par 5 second, a.k.a. Pink Dogwood. My body may be 15 miles outside of Chicago, freezing its nearly 52-year-old ass off at the Big Oaks driving range on Route 38. But in my mind, it's in Georgia, in April. And those color-corrected dogwoods and azaleas have old Prosper turning over in his grave. The start of my 3rd year on the senior tour is a month away. As some of you may recall, my rookie year went rather well. Unkind sports writers leaned heavily on the word miraculous, culminating in my win at Pebble, which the starter was gracious enough to mention. My sophomore season, however, was lackluster at best, so I'm doing everything I can to prepare for 98, particularly since the shelf life out here is so brief, what with me growing more decrepit by the day and fresh young blood bubbling up from below. If you think it's hard fighting for scraps left by Hale Irwin, Gil Morgan, and Hank Peters, and believe me, it is, imagine what it will be like next year when Tom Watson, Lanny Watkins, and Tom Kite flash their birth certificates and step up to the senior buffet. I don't even want to think about that. I just know that this year is huge. And since the end of October, I've been at Big Oaks every afternoon, 5th stall from the left, chewing up these nasty rubber mats and whatever cartilage is left in my right elbow. To relieve the tedium, I've been playing virtual rounds at Augusta, hole by hole, flowering crabapple to Carolina cherry, seeing if I can find the correct half of the fairway and then land it on the correct quadrant of the green. Along the way, I try to keep my scuffed range rock from rolling back into Ray's Creek or finding the pine straw or nestling up behind the Eisenhower tree. It keeps me sharper than mindlessly banging balls. For the front side, the 9 they never put on the air, I make do with the pictures and descriptions in my old Christmas present. But for the back 9, I have 30 years of TV viewing to draw on. When I get to 12, Golden Bell, that nasty par 3 at the end of Amen Corner, I even know which tree Byron Nelson used to look at to decipher the swirling winds. Instead, I gaze roofward and see if there are any plastic bags whipping around in the currents. My favorite holes are 13 and 15. Azalea and Firethorn, the 2 short par 5s that have been the scene of so much drama. In the last couple of weeks, I've even been working on a high draw to keep it on those slippery greens, which in my mind at least are never less than 13-2 on the stimp meter. Today at 15, I catch it solid off the tee, and since I get even more roll off the Big Oak cement than I would from the hard sloping fairways at Augusta, I've only got 215 left. A perfect yardage for my new pet draw.